Well, happy holidays, listeners. Welcome back to another sci-fi episode where we are linking psychology and finances so that you can better examine your own relationship with money and examine how you think, feel, and behave with money, especially this holiday season. And I have Miss Jeronica with us again. Miss Jeronica, if you would, again, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Jeronica Frierson, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. And here at Redstone, I work in the capacity of a victim advocate.
And Jeronica and I, we work together at Army Community Service. And one day out at the round desk, we were talking about holiday spending. And Jeronica, from a therapist perspective, we put our brains together. We're talking about the clutches that holiday spending will take on our minds and our hearts, our bodies sometimes, depending how long we're on our feet, right? But at the same time, we had such a great conversation and we wanted to make sure that we put this on a recording for you so that you would have access. So Jeronica posed a very important question or even a statement, really. So why don't you kick it off?
All right. So basically, when we were talking, one of the things that really came up for us was the correlation between how we feel about ourselves based on what we're able to do and spend, particularly parents, when it comes to being able to provide this huge Christmas.
Yes.
Basically, and getting away from not so much the experience of things, but toys and gadgets and all of that. And so we spend without necessarily being strategic about it, thinking about how it affects our bottom line. And then, of course, Christmas Day is wonderful, but when the bills start coming in and the stress that, can be induced because of it.
Right. And even on Christmas Day, and instead of bouncing out of bed excited that you are going to have this wonderful holiday with your family, some folks are waking up depressed.
Yes.
Some folks are waking up overly anxious because they're not living in the moment due to the exorbitant amount of money they've spent.
Absolutely.
And then their tanks are now empty, which they thought would be filled through all of the spending and giving. But now all of a sudden they're feeling abandoned. They're feeling lonely.
Absolutely.
They're feeling isolated.
Absolutely.
And they can't even enjoy Christmas Day.
The other side of that being for those who weren't able to access, money or credit to buy and still waking up with those same feelings and, to add an adequacy to it because, we have this idea, right? We've been conditioned to believe this is what a good Christmas looks like and a good parent or a good spouse, partner, friend does certain things in terms of gift giving. So then if you weren't able to access it, you're still waking up.
That's right. So whether you spent more than you wanted or you spent nothing at all, for those that wanted to give more but didn't have the ability, they're also grappling with those same feelings.
Yes.
So I shared with Jeronica, my mom, such a wonderful, lovely person, and she already gives beyond her means, and that's her love language is gifts. She loves to give notes, give letters, give money, give tangible gifts, those types of things. So in our household, I've shared with the audience before of my humble beginnings. We never really had a lot of money. So because her love language is gift giving, she felt that we had to have everything our little hearts desired. And if we couldn't have it, she would sit with us and dream with us about how we would obtain that one day in the future. So in many ways, she was assisting us with our hopes and expectations and dreaming beyond what we already had, which is wonderful and beautiful. But I could tell she always felt empty.
Absolutely.
That she couldn't provide. And still, I'm 43 today. And she still displays that same level of anxiety and emptiness when she wasn't able to give us what she thought we would want or what would satisfy us. when I tell her over and over and over again, Mom, if you just make me some fried chicken, some spaghetti,
Yes.
chili, her food is delicious. But in her mind, it's not going to be the gift that she wanted for us. So how do we then get folks to understand it's not about how much you're spending, it's how much you're giving?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I just actually wrote down as you were talking about your mom to really think about redefine what giving means to you, right? And so let's take away one of the things about Christmas, and I love the holidays, right? And literally I describe it as magical.
So you're not a Grinch.
So I am not a Grinch at all. Like I'm all in.
Please understand this as Miss Veronica is talking this way. She is not a Grinch.
I am not a Grinch. My tree is going up this weekend. I feel behind, but hear me when I say, coming from someone who has liked stuff, right? Like all my life, right? What I remember most about the holidays, what stick with me today, is literally not a thing that I got, but it is the being, right? Like being with my family. I recount the food, the tins of cookies, the family that we hadn't seen for forever and a day. That's what I recount the most, right? Everybody being kind of, I don't know how all of us got in my grandma's house, but we did. And then even as the family structure changed over the years and the crowd, just kind of died down or whatnot, still, if it were only a couple of us, you know what I mean? Like that has been what's meant the most with me being away from my family, everyone being in Michigan, what I look forward to is getting on FaceTime with them, Christmas morning, so we can just kind of,
I love that.
talk and connect.
Yes.
But what it really meant was, for some of the things that I think we've learned is going back to what do I want my nephews and nieces to remember most, like those toys. And I think the littles, I have kind of two sets. So we have the bigs and the littles. So the littles remind us all the time just how little and how magical things is, because they'll take a toy out of the box and play with the box.
Yes.
Right? Like,
it's funny that you're saying that, because one of my most impressed Christmas memories was my grandma, who hardly had anything. A coloring book, a brand new dollar store coloring book, and a brand new dollar store pack of crayons.
Yes.
My heart was filled. So we're talking $2 on a third grader. A third grader's perspective. Now, granted, there are some third graders who may be overindulged.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. But if that is the case in your family, then there are some boundaries that you can start setting.
Yep.
And they will also appreciate that at some point. But yes, little kids remind us of the experiences that we ought to have during Christmas and the sensory aspect of Christmas, the touching, the feeling, the seeing, the smells, the taste of everything around us.
Absolutely.
And not just being stuck in adult brain. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. I can't relax today. I can't even engage with my family because I'm thinking about something else. Let me give you some concrete numbers here, which will really bring this. And I'm going to get your thoughts on this too, Veronica. In 2018, we spent, no kidding, $147 billion on Christmas.
Wow.
Talk about overindulgence. We are, in the United States, we are the wealthiest country. And quite frankly, we're spoiled. We are. So guess how many Americans didn't like their gifts?
Easily 57%.
Ooh, you're close on a different percentage. About 20% didn't want their gifts, but 53% kept the gift anyway. So talk about bondage from both ends.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, the person who felt bound to provide you a gift, and then now they're feeling bound that they have to keep the gift. And, you know, if I'm telling on myself, pull out the gift when a certain family member comes over so that they can see it displayed in your home, even though you really don't
Y'all
like
can't
it.
see I'm raising my hand
she's
too.
raising her hand. She's telling on herself. Okay, and then here's the percentage of Americans who feel Americans are focused too much on money during Christmas. A whopping 70%.
Wow.
So if more than the majority of us, 70%, have this inkling that we're focused too much on money during Christmas, why aren't we doing something about it?
So what comes to mind to me is this idea that what we have, and not just around Christmas time, but this is sort of a mentality that what we have defines us and what we don't have defines us, right?
Yeah.
And so you know, let's think about Christmas and let's think about social media, right? So what happens on Christmas, Mother's Day, Father's Day? Everyone is opening their gifts. You know, you've got tons of pictures, matching pajamas. It is like, guys, look how loved I am because of all the things that I have, right? So one of the things that I really think we need to work on and be intentional about is defining who we are, how we see ourselves, how we value ourselves, and even the value that we put on relationships. Because I can think of a ton of people who felt some kind of way, or a bad gift caused conflict in a relationship because it was sort of like, oh, is that all you think of me? Right?
Sounds like a funeral and the will reading.
Right, right, literally, right? And so being willing to give yourself permission, and even give those that you love permission to, let's look at how we approach this thing a little differently, right?
Right.
I am not judging our relationship, the strength of it or not, based on how you gift. I will also make sure others don't feel like or assume what I give or don't give has anything to do with how I feel about them, right? So I love you. You know, I'm grateful that you're in my life. And this year, maybe I was able to give you a tangible gift or a physical gift, or maybe I was able to give you the gift of time.
Yes. People forget about quality time.
Yes.
And that is a love language.
It is. It is.
So I would even contend to say you started out with talking about the image that we have behind how much we're spending on whoever.
Yes.
And what we are receiving in return. Let's all, as adults this holiday season, check our expectations.
Yes, please.
Let's temper our expectations and get that spoiled little brat thinking out of our minds. We all do it. Listen, I'm raising my hand.
Me too, guys.
Sometimes I do it when I think, oh my goodness, so that's it, huh? After everything I did for you.
and think about it, even things when we're saying things, and we're buying things, and I am the type of person who, and I'm guilty of this.
And Ben, I'm not talking about you. That's my husband. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Absolutely. I will say, like, I deserve this. I mean, you know, I love a good treat. So like, I will say, like, I deserve this. But let's even think about that. It has nothing to do with what you deserve or not, right? But like, let's think about the bigger picture. You know, when you said 147 billion was spent during the holiday season. And so guys, that's literally like, usually when they do those numbers about what the first part of November through the end of the year that they're referencing, I saw something a couple of weeks ago that says 64% of Americans have difficulty accessing $1,000 for if an emergency came up.
Yeah.
And so to think that so many of us would find it difficult to put our hands on $1,000 to take care of an emergency, but somehow or another collectively we are also then spending $147 billion within a basically 60-day time frame.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
So, and I love what you're saying regarding challenging ourselves with the advice that you would give my mom, right? So let's also think of it this way. Olivia Mellon, she's the author of Overcoming Overspending. And I know that a lot of us have this issue, and wait for it. There will be a podcast on the overspending. So keep a lookout for that. But what she says, spending is a social addiction.
It is.
And I'll be talking about in that podcast why it's considered an addiction and why it's just as hard for some compulsive shoppers to not do what they're doing, just as difficult it is for a drug addict to not do what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about image, when we talk about the United States elitism, we have this expectation that if I make this much money, or if you make that much money, you should be living in this type of home. You should be driving this type of car. Well, guess what I did? I did the complete opposite. And it blows my kids' minds every time. Because when I've started having some higher level conversations with my 13-year-old. She went to a friend's house, spent the night. Oh, Mom, they're rich. You should see their house. You should see their car. And there was a little human part of me like, oh, no, my daughter's not going to know that. So anyway, now, I went against the book of The Millionaire Next Door. You're not supposed to tell your kids that you're rich. But what my husband told her, I love what he said. He said, we're wealthy. But and when I say this, audience, we are not glittering rich. But when you take into account what two young, suffering, struggling kids did who came from nothing and created something in our minds and in our accounts, we are wealthy, especially compared to how we grew up. So we sat her down and we told her we could have the same type of house. But here's why we chose not to purchase that house. We could have that type of vehicle. Here's why we choose not to drive that type of vehicle. And I told her she should read The Millionaire Next Door. And I really should write a book with them, the teens version of The Millionaire Next Door. Of course, now with inflation, it would have to be the $2 million Millionaire Next Door to catch up with that.
But I love that, right? Because you hone in on a very good point. The idea is I can, but I don't, because I have decided that longevity is important to me. Generational wealth is important to me. So maybe you don't get a brand new car at 16, and maybe we don't drive brand new cars now, but then you don't have student loan debt. You know what I mean?
I was just thinking about debt.
And so all of the things, and I know, guys, that we think, okay, Christmas comes once a year. It does, but what we also have to remember is when we go into Christmas spending blindly and emotionally with no strategy, we're paying for it several months out. Right? So, okay, if you have credit cards, let's think about the interest rate on credit cards. Let's even think about how many times have you gotten an email alert or a text alert that Capital One has increased your credit line, you didn't ask, or that you are eligible, you've been pre-qualified for a credit line increase.
An invitation to make them more money because they're assuming you will not pay off the balance
An invitation to make them more money. And of course they're going to do it because you're about $600 to $1,000 close to the limit anyway, right? And so we think about even just the additional cost, the lingering cost of it. So with your daughter and, visiting her friend. So, you know what, babe? I want you to be happy for them. That house that they have is absolutely beautiful. The things that they have are absolutely beautiful, but it's no more or less than what you have, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately what you have is we've got a stable home,
Yes.
right? You don't want for anything. My parents had interesting takes on holidays because of the way that they grew up. And so my dad was the type of person who you couldn't make him, and you cannot make him feel bad about not doing something for Christmas, okay? Like, because I literally remember he would say, y'all get all year long.
Yeah.
All year long.
Yeah.
So like I'm supposed to
You can track it and put it on a child's LES.
Listen.
Oh, yes.
Right?
I'll be bringing that up in another podcast.
Yes. And so it's just, to think that, and so to the audience, I want you to think about what you do for your family, what you do for your children all year long.
Yes.
And not to let one day or one season define or redefine you or how you see yourself.
I just want to come over there and give you a hug. And I mean, our brain waves right now are so in sync. Yeah. And I even wanted to finish your sentence when you said, for my daughter, she really needs to remember that all she has is enough.
Yes. Always.
If we have that mentality this Christmas season, what I have right now at this point in time is enough.
Yep.
And I would even challenge you for those who might be an under earner.
Yes.
And maybe you're struggling with meeting your rent and putting food on the table. I would not want to say that what you have right now is enough, because it's not. But when you look at socially and emotionally where you are, and with all the charities and with all the resources that surround us here in the Huntsville area, there will be something that will provide for you. And even in the times where we struggled most, when my dad was medically discharged from the Army before he got his medical retirement, living in a 2-bedroom trailer with holes in the floor, I even remember at 15 years old feeling comfortable.
Yep.
Feeling well cared for, having a thought that what I have is enough.
Absolutely.
So I would challenge everyone to this holiday season, take the advice that Jeronica is giving, strategize. Last point that I'll make, the reason you need to strategize is because of the Christmas extras. Christmas gifts are not the only holiday expenses that we have. Trees, ornaments, lights, keeping up with the Joneses, right? In the yard, all those types of things. So these extras just might push you over that holiday limit. So when you strategize and you create this Christmas spend plan, you really need to think of every single dollar.
Yes.
So here's an interesting thing that I found. Americans spend an average, this is only an average, an average of around $100 per person on holiday food items.
Yep. Think that honey baked ham, right?
Yes.
$70.
All the potlucks at work.
Potlucks at work.
Yes. And all the things that you're
Secret
expected
Santa.
to bring. So here's, how much do you think Americans spent on wrapping paper and gift bags? We don't always think about what we need to spend on wrapping paper and gift bags. And not last year, but in 2018, how much did we spend?
So per person, easily
Let me just
$60.
Let me put you out of your misery and give you the total bill. $3.2 billion on paper.
Olivia.
That they're not even going to keep. Unless you're like me, I keep the gift bags.
So, guys,
Veronica's
if you can see
having a
me,
breakdown right now.
So I was not expecting you to say that. Olivia.
Yes, so this is, you get what I'm saying with the Christmas extras, and I get what you're saying with strategizing.
Yes. So here we're going to talk, we're going to strategy, right, guys? Because we can't
drive us home.
Okay, we can't do this. Well, we can't. We can't do it this way. So strategy means let's check in on the emotional side, right? So before I can change my behavior in any way, right, I have got to acknowledge that the feelings are there. And so I don't believe there are no bad feelings, right? But we also have to remember that feelings are not fact. fact.
That's right.
Okay?
They're signals.
They're signals, but they are not fact. So as you're thinking about what you want the holiday season to look like, give yourself some mental flexibility to do things different, right? So maybe take stock of, what did you do last year that was a burden? Right? Like, so what did you do last year that, when it was all said and done, you thought to yourself, you know what, I am going to do a little bit better. Now, let's say last year you said to yourself, well, I'm going to participate in a Christmas club, and you never got around to opening that Christmas club savings plan. Okay, that's fine. Here we are, a month and a half out, no problem. But let's think about, what do I have available to spend? Even if you don't like that number, and I'm not saying that you're not going to go over the number, but go in with the information that this is what I have, this is my surplus, or this is my deficit, right? So go into the process, make a part of your strategy being informed of what your numbers are, right? Then I want you to think about who gets to come off the list. So
yes.
I make a list.
We talked about that last year.
Right? Every year.
Why are you sending cards to people who never send you a card?
Nope, absolutely not, right? Or how about this? Since we don't have to pay for minutes before 7 p.m. anymore, you get a phone call. I know I do not really care to talk on the phone, but when I think about when I think about $3.2 billion being spent on paper, y'all, I want us to not listen. I love Hallmark too, but just pick up the phone. Hey, how you doing?
Exactly.
Hope y'all are well. Kiss the baby and the cat and just call it a day, right? Yes. So let's kind of create a list of who would you like to get something. Then I actually so kids and Target and Walmart, they kill me because these catalogs are coming out. No. So I want you to think about, what is it that you want your children have? And this is something that is helpful to them, right? Help them pare down on what means the most to you, right? Like, let's go back to having some things that are significant, because not being able to appreciate what we have means it doesn't matter how much, right? So if I can't appreciate what I have now with a little, I'm not going to appreciate a lot.
And then you're not modeling for that little,
and you're not
that
modeling.
Child.
Absolutely. And you're setting them up for failure
strategizing financially means.
Right.
And and just to close on this, it's not even finding out what is burdening you financially. It's also finding out over the Christmas season what is burdening you time-wise.
Yes.
One of the things I did, I stepped down from choir this year.
Ooh. Yes.
Because I was resenting going in and singing for everybody else, and I never got my cup filled. So this year, I am going to walk into a service, not know what's going to happen or what songs are going to be sung, and I am going to get my cup filled.
Yes.
And that frees up at least 4 to 5 hours a week.
And that's a lot, considering what you have going on. That I get to spend
with my family.
Yep.
So we've taken you on a longer journey than most podcasts today, but
sorry, guys.
I love it when Jeronica visits, and because, listen, there's more that we could continue to go on and on about. So if you would like to go on and on about your own situation with me or Jeronica, we could or we could tag team. We can sit with you and we can strategize with you and work with you. Remember us here at the Redstone Arsenal Army Community Service. We're in building 3443 Java Cafe building. Our number is 256-876-5397 if you'd like to set up an appointment to strategize.
It's not too late, guys. Get with Olivia. Honestly, it's perfect time.
That's right.
Perfect time to do it. Please reach out to her, just to get a plan, just so that you can feel good and confident about what you're doing and what you have going on, and even letting this be a step stool to get better. You know what I mean? So thank you,
Thank
Olivia.
you very much, Jeronica. Have a pleasant holiday.